up? What up?
I have been up for 7 hours at this point, deep into my day right now.
I know this isn't right, but I feel like the last time we recorded in here, they were still like in the playoffs.
Why'd you have to? I actually
did a post game. We did
the first one
right,
after or no, one of them. And
we did the one
first
after
when you were back.
lost.
Yeah, the Wednesday or whatever. So you're saying there's a bad vibes room?
No, I'm just saying it's bringing
did
back.
anyone else hear that was a bad vibes room?
No.
I heard.
I'm saying it's bringing back memories.
It's a bad memory.
Like the feeling I'm having of being.
We're supposed to talk about turning the page, and now I'm like lost in my. All right, should we do this?
Yeah. Do you want to tweet it? I already did.
Oh, look at you! See, I'm already out of practice. I was so locked in before.
No, you're not.
I'm very not. There's a lot change in my life, big dog. You might not know that.
I'm sure we'll get into it.
You think so? Will we talk about that at all? All right, ready? All right, ready? Let's do it. Here we go, guys. Hey, hello. It is the Go Birds podcast presented by the Bet Park Sportsbook and Casino app. Elliot Shore Park, James Seltzer with you. And I'm tired.
What's up?
Tired.
What's it like to be a nocturnal animal?
Dude, it's so weird. It is so weird. So I said this to you should always check in the chat. We do these live on YouTube now, the WIP YouTube page. Check us out. It's a lot of fun.
And we created the Go Birds community account.
You created it. Yes. So we'll get to that. We'll pump that up. But yeah, I've been up for 7 hours. I was telling the people on the YouTube before we started, up for 7 hours.
Yeah,
it's 10 o'clock for those who don't know. Yeah.
James started the morning show this week.
Yes,
I'm assuming most people know, but just to give some background for those that don't.
So my alarm goes off at 3:20.
3 days in now, right?
3:20. 3:20.
Oh, God. Yep. Man, there's just so when I do early morning flights, you book them and you're like, it's not that bad. But here's my opinion of waking up early. 6 o'clock is not really waking up. 6 a.m. on is not really waking up early. 5 a.m. it's I have to get up early. If it is a 4 or a 3 in it, a 3 is you might as well not go to bed. A 4 is, wow, I'm barely going to sleep. So at 3:20 a.m. I mean, I was texting you last night. I don't know, 7:30, and you were getting in bed.
Yeah, I know. I think I texted you at 7:40. I was like, hey, man, I actually have to go to bed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because I texted you something else.
I can't talk anymore.
Yeah. So. But it is different. And you can speak to it more, obviously. But I use this analogy in a text with you, and I think it's very true. Just the whole station, the vibe, even the pod, it's like that episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm where he has an infection in his right ear, so he has to make phone calls on his left. It's the same thing in theory, but it just feels so different.
It feels so different.
Even listening to the morning show, and you just sound it's good. It just sounds different. Yeah. I can't put my finger on it. It's and then so it just all feels very different,
dude.
But
tell me
I don't
about
want
it.
to change.
So the funniest thing is obviously, look, I wake up in the morning. There's no one out there. I drive into work. There's no one in the city. I live in a freaking city. I see 0 people. 3 days in a row, I've seen 0 people. There have been a couple other cars. 0 people on the street. 0. Done. Okay, so that's weird. Yeah. I get up. I have to I have to put my clothes out in the bathroom to start the day because I want to wake up Emily, and Zoe's been sleeping in our bed sometimes now and then, so that just adds to it and all that.
Oh, no, you're not waking her up at 3.
No, that's a really bad idea. And then leave, go drive in. It's the
what do you do for breakfast?
So I make myself a little bagel before I leave. Here's the thing that you don't realize. You don't realize all the little things.
I'm listening.
I'm
just going to make sure the audio.
Yeah, it's good. You don't realize all the little things that change, dumb stuff. You're so
you don't have to tell me.
Yeah, exactly.
We barely text. I feel like I barely talk to you.
I know, it's outrageous, dude. Yeah, it's the little stuff that I'm noticing, that. Oh, I used to do this, and now I don't. And then again, just the fact that I'm done for the day at 10 o'clock. I mean, unless I'm doing a pod or whatever.
It's my everyday.
It's very jealous. It's pretty great. That's the best part. The best part is 10 o'clock being oh. Nothing to do today.
It is it's harder than you think to kill all that time. Yeah, it's this is why I ask Kristen every day at 10:30, what's for dinner?
Well, what's funny?
Here
you want to talk about early dinners now? I ate dinner at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Oh, that sounds so amazing. That might be the best part of you taking the job. Forget the professional development part of it. You get to eat dinner at 3.
It's my 6. I figured out because I'm waking up essentially 3 hours earlier the day before, a little after 6 before. So essentially, 3 o'clock is 6 o'clock in the evening for me.
Right.
In my
prediction is eventually you'll end up going to bed around 10 and waking up around 4.
You think I'm just gonna gut it out?
Yeah, that's my prediction. Yeah. But who knows?
Well, look, I mean, during Philly season, I'm going to have to watch Phillies games. So
yeah. That one out. This is a side note. I'm irrationally excited for this Philly season. I'm like very excited.
Whoa,
yeah.
What is this?
Like I'm like I can't wait for it to start.
Oh my
I'm also
God, yes.
here's a
welcome aboard, buddy.
high hopes take. You ready?
Yes.
I think by this time next year we'll be talking about Andrew Painter the same way we talk about Jalen Hurts.
It's a great.
I think look, Hurts is the best young athlete in the city, so full stop. But like, I think Andrew Painter is gonna be the next like dude. I was like looking at buying his jersey a few days ago, but I didn't know what his number was.
Is that why you texted us?
Yeah, that's why I texted about the number. Yeah. I'm like fully in on him.
We should be guys at that age who do what he does in terms of like the levels he's at and the productions he's at his age are Hall of Famers, like for the most part. Well, and he's got to stay healthy and all that. But like in terms of like his achievement at his age and the levels he's at, like it is elite stuff.
Yeah. Well, I don't know anything about his numbers. I'm just saying when I look at him and I hear him talk,
you
the name, the
vibe, music thing,
you
felt that.
That's why I knew Alec Boehm was going to be great.
I love this. This is a great take by you.
And I was thinking about that this morning. Was I right about Alec Boehm? And I think when you hit a home run in the World Series, like I'm not saying he's like a all-pro type of guy, but I think I was
pro.
Whatever.
You're showing your baseball knowledge.
All-star, whatever, blah blah. Home run guy.
World Series DVD guy. I mean,
yeah. Hey, I am famous in the baseball lexicon world.
Hey, if you watch a World Series DVD,
I'm in it. And if you ever heard an account say they could luck into a home run, you're welcome.
Yeah, I mean, baseball Twitter owes a lot of.
Yeah, I legit think in like 50 years, people will still be saying
it. Might.
It might be my best professional accomplishment ever. Which is sad, but also amazing, but sad at the same time.
It's a great point.
So should we talk about the Eagles?
Sure. Yeah, why not? We just keep talking about waking up in the morning. Yeah. You know, all the weird little things you find out. Yeah, let's get into it.
No, we don't have to.
Here's the thing. Well, it's funny because like it is one of those things where look, I've spent the first 3 days of the new morning show talking about the Eagles and all that, and spent our lives talking about the Eagles, and it's just starting to not hurt as bad. It still hurts. I'm still crushed. I'm still like, I am not, in all honesty, I am excited about the Phillies. I'm starting to get excited about the Phillies. It's the first sports thing I've been excited about. I'm not excited about the Eagles. I'm just not. I know I will be, and I am super excited in a vacuum about Jalen Hurts. I think he's going to get better. I think, I'll say right now, what is it? It's February 22nd. I already bet on him to win the MVP. I think
he was like 12th or 16th.
I think he's going to win the MVP this year. I think Jalen Hurts is going to come back with a freaking vengeance and be freaking awesome. I can't get juice right now. I'm still feeling the pain, Elliot. But I'm trying to trick myself. That's what I just said on the morning show. I'm trying to like mentally trick myself into moving up.
So I'm watching this show on Apple TV with Jason Segel.
The Shrink Show.
Yes, and Harrison Ford. And
real quick, what a weird combination of people.
I know.
Jason Segel.
The show is so good. But anyway,
it's good?
It's really, really good.
Okay.
So it's like exactly the perfect type of show you would think. So anyway, I would recommend it. I don't remember the name though. But
Shrinking. It's called
Shrinking, yeah. But so anyway, so in the show, it's about like he's a therapist, and essentially, and this isn't a spoiler, like he like does things that therapists shouldn't do to like see if it will work, right? So here's my tie into that. Here would be my advice on the Eagles loss. Are you ready? Mm-hmm. Are you ready for earmuffs?
Uh-oh. Yes.
Right, ready?
Like you're gonna say ass or something?
No, ready? Just like get the fuck over it. They lost. It sucks. Like, and look, I'm big in like people should feel they want to feel, but the advice I would give to you is like as a friend and to everybody listening is just come to peace with it.
I will never.
It's been almost 2 weeks.
Never come to peace with it. As long as I live, I will die someday. Hopefully at the age of 130. Yeah. And I will on my deathbed. One of the things I think about will be like, we didn't get that Super Bowl we should have. We had it. We won that Super Bowl, and because of a variety of reasons, we didn't.
Yeah.
And I will never get over it. Now, can I move forward? I'm trying. Will I get over it? Never.
Zoe's
they have to win a Jalen has to win a Super Bowl for me to even like consider getting over.
Zoe's kids will be in the hospital being like, sure, Grandpa, I bet the grass was wet.
Yeah, that's right.
No, for
you
sure.
Understand? Yeah. Players are falling all over the field.
Only the Eagles played on it. I get it, Grandpa.
They threw a flag, stiffed the ball at the ground.
Like, that's right.
I thought it was a stop. Everyone's ecstatic.
Someone
gives
like, great
flag.
Grandpa James's medicine. He's talking about the game again. But no, I think that look, in all seriousness, I think it's time to turn the page. It's time to turn the page, man. Like, dude, the combine is next week. We haven't even talked about like what free agents you would sign. I mean, there's a real chance by the time we record the pod next, which will be tomorrow, so probably not a super real chance. But like, the Jalen contract could be done by next week. Like, this is coming. Like, the offseason, whether we like it or not, the offseason is moving ahead. Like, we haven't even talked about their defensive coordinators, right? Like, so what I kind of think, and this ties into how you feel too, like my opinion on this team heading into the season is I have no interest in running it back. Like I think it sounds painful, and like it would be like watching the same season of a TV show, exactly the same, and hoping the ending's different. Like, look,
but the ending could be different. They got screwed out.
No,
the Super Bowl.
I know
it
could be different. It could be different. You're right. But what I'm saying is, like, when I think about
so close to winning the Super Bowl,
but when I think about next
run
year,
it back in a second. Bring the exact same guy.
I don't know, man. I don't think I'm there.
They can't. But if they could,
well, they could if they wanted. They're just not.
I would run it back. In a second, this team was awesome. In your opinion, the best team in the history of the franchise. You wouldn't run it back with the best team in the history of the franchise. That's crazy.
If I had to pick between bringing back every single free agent or not a single free agent, I would pick not a single.
I think that is the craziest thing you've
said. All right, so
why?
Wait, let me tell you. Because I think what hurts teams in trying to go back isn't the talent, isn't whatever. It's just really, 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 really hard for the same group of guys to go through that same emotional like sludge or whatever, like dreck that they go through. Like at the end of the day, this team, and I'm talking specifically the free agents, this team is bringing back Jalen, Nick, AJ, Devontae, Goddard, most of the offensive line. Kelsey's the one free agent. I'll put it like I would bring him back, but I'm just saying. But to me, I think what would help this team the most is an influx of like freshness and newness.
But the odds are you're going to hit on all these guys you hit on. Like these guys are all
but you don't. Here's the deal. If Jalen is the MVP next year, like you're saying, and he's just as good, if not better than next year, it doesn't like super matter who your defenders are. Not saying it doesn't matter at all.
Your whole defense doesn't matter. Take is crazy. They just lost the Super Bowl because defense matters.
Well, they lost it too for a lot of different reasons, but whatever. But the point I'm making,
crazy take.
The point, and look, maybe it's because the season just ended and maybe by, August, I'll feel differently. I'm just saying now, the idea to me of bringing back the same team and trying to do it sounds like a recipe for a disaster and also sounds emotionally draining. I looked it up, right? Well, I didn't look it up. Mark Eckel told me this, but I looked it up to confirm it. I tweeted. Did you see the tweet about this before I ask you? Do you want to guess the last team in the NFC after losing the Super Bowl to go back when it was?
I mean, it's been forever. It's like the 70s or something.
Yeah, like the 70 Vikings.
Vikings.
Almost 50 years.
Wow. Probably the Vikings.
Props to you for knowing that.
Well, I knew they lost 4 Super Bowls then, so I assumed it was probably them.
They lost 4 then? I knew they lost back-to-back. I didn't know if they
lost 4 Super Bowls.
Okay, it's like in a stretch, like where not
over
4 in a row.
Like a 10-year stretch or whatever.
So in the NFC, it's been almost 50 years. In the AFC, the Patriots did it, but if you remove the Patriots, it wasn't since the Bills, who lost 4 straight. So look, history is what it is. Jalen's awesome. Nick's awesome. That doesn't mean that they can't do it. I just mean, to me, their best chance of going back to the Super Bowl is trying to do it with a mostly new group of guys. Because I think trying to do it with the same group is going to be it wasn't the exact same group in 2018. I know circumstances, whatever. I just remember 2018 being no fun.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
But that was a particular case. First of all, a lot of older guys. Like, these are not a lot of older guys. There are a lot of guys in their prime we're talking about as free agents, or at least close to their prime. I think that's a big factor.
I think it's more of a 50-50
Second of all, there's a big difference here in that team won the Super Bowl. They were fat. They were happy. They did it. They were the first team in the history of this city to do that. They were on top, and it's easy. It's really hard. And I thought Carson coming back and him wanting one would like propel the team. I didn't realize that no one liked him. And I didn't know it was going to be a motivating factor. Right. And this is a group of guys where every single one of these guys went through this. They know that pain. They know how close they were. Like, could a group of guys ever be more motivated, more fired up than that group who just lost the Super Bowl in that way? Like, but I get your point about, because I know it is hard to go back and all that stuff. But like, look, let's be honest. Teams are never the same. And these days, it's never going to be the exact same team coming back to the Super Bowl.
Right.
but as Jack Fritz, I was trying to keep.
I mentioned Andrew Painter one time, and he just he
in the looking at us in smiling.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Jack in a few days. I'm used to seeing him every day. So
yeah,
another weird thing.
Anyway, continue.
Yeah, point being that I do think that they won the Super Bowl, and this losing the Super Bowl. I know losing teams haven't gone back, but I think that's for a variety of reasons. And again, look, let's be honest. I don't think they're going back to the Super Bowl. I think they have a really good chance to, but I do think that the big thing with the difference this year compared to probably a lot of years, but certain years, the NFC is horrible this year. Like the Eagles are heading into a conference where they have by far the best quarterback in the conference. Like who's second? Who's the second quarterback in the conference? Who's even number two?
Here would be my counter to that. Is that, and this is a basic take, but I'll say it. Like this time last year, we wouldn't have said that, right? So you just never know what's going to happen.
Okay. But strictly just the quarterback.
Well, like Dak is close for what it's worth. Like
to Jalen? Dak isn't in Jalen's hemisphere.
I disagree.
I think Jalen's a top 3 quarterback in the NFL. Dak's like 12.
Well, it depends how you okay, maybe not his hemisphere, but I'm saying
like you go through these teams, especially if
Dak is capable,
especially if Rodgers leaves. Like you're right.
Well, Rodgers kind of sucks at this point.
Okay,
I'm over Rodgers.
Okay, fine. Yeah. Then let's whatever. Then like an injured Stafford, like that. Like that's what I'm talking about. The quarterbacks. I mean, think about this. Like you go through the SC. It's Daniel Jones. It's Dak. It's whoever Washington's going to start. Kirk Cousins, Jared Goff, whoever Green Bay's quarterback is going to be, Justin Fields. Like Tampa Bay doesn't have a quarterback. Carolina doesn't have a quarterback. New Orleans doesn't have a quarterback. Atlanta has Desmond Ritter. Right. I mean, I'm just saying.
No, I agree. It's
San Francisco, who the hell knows? Seattle, Rams,
so Dak probably
Arizona.
Is
in fact,
two.
I would go so far as to say this might be the worst quarterback conference in the salary cap era, like in the last 20 years.
Yeah, when you go through it like that, I agree.
Right?
Like I only
so that is something. Look at me. Mr. Hopeful, Mr. Positive over here. That is something that I've been thinking about that's giving me hope.
I'm hopeful too, to be clear.
Dak's the second best quarterback in the conference. That's crazy.
Yeah, and to be clear, I also think the Eagles should go into next year the favorites to go back to the Super Bowl in the NFC. I think that, again, because they have basically all their offense coming back, that's a big deal. The only thing I'm saying is, having lived through 2017 to 2018, I know there's differences.
They won.
They did win, but I think when you talk about fat and happy, you're also talking about paid. And a lot of these free agents are going to be paid if they're coming back.
Sure.
Right? So
that's a fair point.
And again, I think they're all great players and great guys. I don't think like Bradbury and Chauncey Gardner and TJ Edwards are bad locker room guys. I'm just saying, I think to me, and right now, again, maybe it's because the season just ended, the idea of running it back with everybody just feels like it's not going to end up working out. Because I think that when you have the exact same group of guys carrying all the same baggage, I think the only thing that stops this team from being great next year is injury or baggage. And so in my opinion, I'd like to remove as much of like the emotional baggage as I can. If you can bring in guys of similar quality, right? Like there's going to be good free agents out there. And if they're going to pay Bradbury and Chauncey, like they're both going to command big money. TJ's probably going to get decent.
There's no chance they can bring them up.
No, they can't.
This is a hypothetical conversation that can't.
Who would you bring back? Like if taking everything into consideration, you could bring one guy back.
Let's
say you have one big contract to hand out.
So real quick, just before that though, just to wrap a bow on the point, I agree with what you're saying in general. I do think the emotional baggage with this team is we lost the Super Bowl and we were so close, we want to win it. Like I do think there is a chance for this specific emotional baggage to be a motivator as opposed to a detractor.
Or it tears everything down.
Well, who knows? But again, they had such a good culture, and with Jalen at the top, I trust that culture would be there with this group of guys. But okay, in terms of if I could just bring one back, I mean, for me, it's three play. I mean, not including Kelsey. Let's say Kelsey off the board.
Yeah,
Kelsey is its own thing, right? And I would say Kelsey won. I think he's so.
I agree. I would Kelsey be my number one if he's on this list.
But outside of that, for me, it's a clear top three. It's like clearly the top three options are for me, and I'll tell you where I go with one.
Right.
But it's Bradbury, CJ, GJ, and Hargrave. I think they're the three best players that they could potentially lose this offseason. So I think Hargrave is probably the most important in terms of where this team is at. Yeah. We've talked a lot about the
important position.
They don't have dudes there. I mean, Jordan Davis.
Their top four guys are free agents.
Yeah, are free agents, and Jordan Davis is the fifth guy. And like, I think Jordan Davis will be better in year two. I'm not out on Jordan Davis, but he's certainly not a pass rusher. So, he's not someone you feel good about getting to the quarterback, and Hargrave does that at an elite level.
So I was debating whether to say this on the pod, but it's too good not to.
Oh God, you're doing your thing, aren't you? So he said this to me like 6 times already.
All right.
Elliot is so in love with this idea.
Okay, no. I'm not even in love with the idea.
You love the concept of the idea.
So I'm at the Super Bowl, and the person I'm sitting next to, it's not like a reporter or anything. And we're talking about Jordan Davis. And he goes, I think Jordan Davis' best position is offensive guard. And here's the thing about it. Like, I would not move him to guard. I do actually agree he'd be a great offensive guard, but I think it speaks so much of where he is at that the idea of it is even like it. Like we're talking about, you know, he would never say, I think Javon Hargrave would be a great offensive guard. So I think the jury on Jordan Davis is like very much out.
Yeah.
I think you're right now going into next year.
I think it's a massive mistake. I think it is crazy to be out on this kid already.
Oh, no, I'm not out on it.
I know
the
you're not. I'm talking
is,
to every people out there to guard guy.
It's just like such a funny hysteria. Like,
yeah, again, like to I don't know. Like, you made this point in the season when Jordan Davis got hurt, when he had a high ankle sprain, you were like, he's not going to contribute this year.
He's done. Yeah.
You said that.
Yeah.
And then everyone's like, oh my God, he didn't contribute this year. Like, yeah, that's what happens when you're that size and you have that injury in your rookie season. Like, your season's pretty much cooked.
Yep,
like,
I agree.
Especially when they bring in guys who contribute, like, it's just going to happen.
And
so, like, I look, it was a bad rookie season for Jordan Davis. It's the 13th pick in draft. There's no other way to look at it.
Bad rookie year.
Disappointing year. I think it would be crazy to be out on him after that rookie.
I agree. I'm not out on him. I just think when you're building the roster,
you didn't love him coming into the draft
right.
too and stuff. So there's different angles on that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying in general, like that the way that season played out, that was not a way to be like, oh, this guy's done. Like,
I don't think it's a you're out on him thing, but it's certainly like a, you know, it's like
it sucks.
Yeah,
it sucks. But again, I'm not surprised after that injury that he didn't contribute after they brought in Sue and
I
Joseph.
agree.
They were both really good.
Now he wasn't that good before, but also it was like his first 6 games.
His first 6 games, and he wasn't horrible.
He wasn't horrible. He was just like a complete
he wasn't playing a ton, and he wasn't
right. But I think like going into next year, you want Jordan Davis to on the depth chart, ideally. When we look at it,
you want to be a starter.
Well,
you want to turn himself into.
But I think you need to plan as if he's like your fourth.
Of course you do. Yeah, that's my point.
Like you can't hand him a starting job.
That's why I'm saying Hargrave is so important. So I you know.
And Milton Williams, for what it's worth, who I think has shown potential.
Yeah, he's nice. Fine.
Yeah, I like. Look, I think he's better than Jordan Davis at this point.
Yeah, Jordan Davis hasn't shown anything yet. And look, they're completely different players. One guy's
agreed. I think Milton Williams could maybe do what Javon Hargrave does. Like if he
could be if he Javon Hargrave light. Maybe.
Yeah.
He
had, I think, did he have 4.5, 5 sacks last year?
I don't know.
Yeah. Now, granted, he's playing a lot of garbage.
Yeah.
But whatever.
But regardless, I think like obviously Chauncey's the youngest. And I do think his versatility, his ability to play safety and nickel and kind of do a lot of the Malcolm stuff, I do think that's really valuable for this team and the way they've liked to play defense over the last few years, whatever. And I think Bradbury is probably just the best player of the three, like the best at his position, and probably, arguably the most, that or Hargrave, the most important decision. But again, they're both 5 years older than CJGJ. So I'm really torn on this. Those three are my top priorities. They won't keep all three. I'd probably keep Hargrave if I had to pick one of the three. It's probably Hargrave, CJGJ, Bradbury, but like it's razor thin and they are my clear top three.
So the one caveat I'll put in before, because I agree those are the top three. I agree. And then TJ would be number 4 for me.
And BG, I think, there are other reasons for it.
Yeah,
but like,
BG's going to get like $4 million.
Yeah, exactly. He'll be cheap. I think he's worth bringing back for cheap.
I would definitely bring him back.
I agree.
100%. I think he'd be, first of all, he's still a good player. I think he's a great locker room, like all those things. I would definitely bring him back. So of the 3 guys you talked about, the one caveat I'll say is, and I'm just starting to look into the draft, it does seem like at the top at 10, there's a good chance corner will be the best player. So that's something to factor in.
Absolutely it is.
But if we take that out for a second, we just talk about those 3 players, you could convince me into an order of Bradbury, Hargrave, Chauncey, because I think having a number 2 legit corner is so huge for them. And I think it's a position where if they get it wrong, or if the rookie that they draft isn't good right away, or they let Bradbury walk and they sign someone else, but he ends up not being that great, I think it could really, really hurt the defense. Like I think an average to below average / bad number 2 corner in today's NFL is really, really bad news. So while I agree the defensive tackle spot is also super important, I think the security of Bradbury is worth paying, in my opinion. Now, of the 3, I think he's probably the one that'll be least affordable because I think he's going to get a lot of money.
He is
although I do wonder if the league views him as a number 2 and not a number 1.
It's certainly possible. Look, he's going to be 31 next season.
Yeah, he's older too.
At that position, speed, all that stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and you could flip around and say, look, they got Darius Slay at 30 or 29 when he came here. He's had a good 3 years here, or whatever. But I would just be a little worried about giving a corner at that age coming off his, an all-pro season or whatever, what he's going to get. the type of years he's going to get. That would be my one. I would I would like all three back in a perfect world. But I do think the Bradbury contract compared to the years and the age and all that could be the most untenable of the three.
Here would be my thing on Chauncey.
Hold on. Okay. Before you do your Chauncey thing, download the Bet Parks Sportsbook Casino app. I mean, come on. Elliot just said it. Come on.
Well, and also, like, you know, soccer's about to begin.
Most importantly, yes.
American soccer,
yes.
you know.
Yes.
So I don't know what I'm allowed and not allowed to say.
You can say it. Go ahead.
The Union
are
about to begin on Saturday.
Yeah.
Basketball obviously still going on.
Yes.
You know, I know everyone's still upset about football, but there's still money to be made.
There is money to be made.
Or put it better, there's parlays to lose out there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's sports to be watched and thus fun to be had if you have money on those sports. That's
last night I watched a U17 soccer game.
Yeah, your boy.
They're like little kids out there.
You want to know your boy money on? Betting on Mac McClung to win the dunk contest.
What were
yes! Plus 100. It wasn't great odds.
Oh, yeah.
But I was like, he's plus 100. All the others were like plus 400. I was like, he's probably just the best.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm going to root for him anyway. So boom, winner. That's the beautiful thing. You can bet on all this stuff. You can have so much fun with the app. The app is easy to use. It's intuitive. Download the app in the App Store, Google Play Store, or at betparks.com. Use our promo code GoBirds.
I do think
GOBIRDS.
Of all the cool parts, the intuitive part's the coolest part.
I agree.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No
right
problem.
in the middle of my thing there.
No problem.
Let me just jump in.
It
was a pro move. Anyway, use our promo code. $750 in bonus site credit back if your bet is not a winner. You must be 21 and present in Pennsylvania or New Jersey. Again, promo code 1-800-GAMBLER. Chauncey.
So I think with Chauncey is obviously I think
hate him.
No, he's a very good player. He's a very good player.
Not that good. Not a fan.
I just like. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
If the argument for Chauncey is Avante gets hurt all the time, then I'm in on it. If the argument is paying him $14 million or whatever it's going to be per year to play that position of safety, I would almost rather just pay Avante and Reed Blankenship, because I think Reed Blankenship is not as good as Chauncey right now. But
come on, he's not close to
Chauncey. No. I agree. Like if Chauncey's a 10, I think Reed's probably like a 5 or a 6.
I think that's fair.
But he was a rookie last year. You have a whole offseason now. He makes like $400,000 as opposed to $14 million, right? So,
well, I don't think you said this on the air, but I don't think they'll franchise.
I don't think they will. But if the number of franchises 14, that might be where his annual starts. Like you're right that I don't think there's, to me, in my opinion,
look, he's not the best safety in the NFL.
He's not, but it doesn't always matter when you hit the free agency at the right age.
You're right.
But look, I think there's a 0% chance he plays on the franchise tag. Do I think there's a 10% chance they franchise him just to keep his rights? Yes, but I don't think there is any shot he plays on the franchise tag. Think about this. They currently have around $9 or $10 million in salary cap space. They're going to have to open money up just to sign pretty much anyone, but definitely Jalen and everybody, right? Chauncey, if they franchise tag him, will hold $14 million on the salary cap until they either rescind it or sign him. And so to me, there is no shot they are going to open up an additional $4 million just to then use 100% of their salary cap space on Chauncey, in my opinion. So I think if they sign Chauncey, and I think they could, he's young, he's versatile in the secondary, all those things. My guess is you're going to see a 4-year deal with 2 dummy years. That's, I think, how they bring Chauncey back. I don't think they're going to do a 1-year, $14 million franchise deal with him. But here's my thing with Chauncey is I just you have nobody behind Bradbury. You have nobody behind Hargrave. Reed is not Chauncey, but Reed I thought was solid last year. And again, only makes $400,000 or $500,000. So that, to me, that would be my Chauncey argument is, if they think Avante is no longer dependable, then I can get spending for Chauncey, because then you can move him to nickel if you need. But ultimately, I would not be super thrilled about spending $14 million at that position when you have Reed Blankenship there.
Yeah, I agree. And look, we don't know who the defensive coordinator is going to be, the style of defense they're going to play, what type of, and you don't sign a player just for that, but it's certainly a factor in what they're going to do. They wouldn't have drafted Jordan Davis last year if they didn't want to run 3-4 concepts and all that type of stuff. So it does play a role in that type of stuff.
While Nick does not run the defense, Nick and Howie are involved in the big picture philosophical parts of the defense.
So forgetting what you think they should do, what you want them to do, whatever, who do you think, if you're take us inside the room with Howie and the scouting staff and all right now, what they're talking about, who's their top guy? Who do you think they in that room are prioritizing and saying, we'll figure everything out, but we're keeping him?
So the two guys to me would be Chauncey and TJ Edwards. And for different reasons. TJ would be because I think he's not going to get a ton of money, and I think he's really important to what they do. Like, if you lose him, I mean, you could, I don't know if Nakobe's going to play that exact position. TJ
I think it's more likely Nakobe would take over Kaiser anyway.
Right. But Nakobe is a complete question mark at this point. I just think the dependability of TJ is appealing. But then obviously for Chauncey, because he just checks so many boxes. Like they traded a conditional fourth and a fifth for him. He's only 24 years old. Like
the age matters there.
He had the kidney thing, or a spleen or whatever it was, but that's not really.
It's a freak injury.
Yeah, that's not like a knee injury you have to worry about. So he's young, he's healthy. I think he is a good locker room guy. Now he's going to cost. Like that's the issue with Chauncey. But I think he checks the most boxes. Hargrave to me is interesting because I don't think they believed Hargrave was a good run stopper, and I think Gannon specifically was not super high on Hargrave in that regard. But I do wonder if with Gannon gone now, if maybe their Hargrave stock goes up. And again, the positional value. But I think it would be Chauncey, TJ. I mean, look, then there's Kelsey, which is, again, a whole nother thing. But what do you think is going to happen with Kelsey?
I think he's going to come back.
I do too. That's my prediction.
That's just the vibe I've gotten.
So then what do you do with Sayamalo?
I
forgot about him, but he's super important too.
If I had to bet what they're going to do, because I think Sayamalo is going to get not paid, but he's going to make some money.
I mean, look at what Big V got that year.
He's been a starting guard in this league as a guard, but still, I think they're going to move. I think, and this again is predicated on Kelsey coming back.
Juergens.
I think Juergens will be your guard. That's what I think is my most likely outcome is Sayamalo leaves, Kelsey comes back, Juergens gets a year at guard, and then moves over.
I would also, never mind. But like, no, I just don't want to go down that road.
Nice, like that. Love that. I love everyone sitting there listening and be like, what's he going to say? I have to know what he's going to say.
I know. Maybe I'll put it in the Go Birds community.
I like that. If you meet Ellie in person, you can ask him what he's going to say there. Right?
But
like, what are you talking about? I don't remember that at all.
So here's a question for you.
Yes.
Would you rather spend money on bringing back one of the guys we talked about, or spend money on like a stud number 3 receiver? Like somebody that's like, he might be the best number 3 receiver in the NFL. And just move on from Quez.
One of the guys we talked about.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm cool with that. I just wonder.
Fine moving on from Quez, but I can't.
And I'm not out on Quez. I'm just saying the clear need on offense. I can't justify spending the money. Like, again, I do care about defense. Unlike you. Yeah,
I do care about defense. Yeah. I'm spending money on defense.
Okay.
I'm not.
I think that's fair. I was just curious where you felt.
Look, it's interesting. All right. Let's get to the defensive coordinator and the offense. Is the offensive coordinator as simple?
I think it's going to be Brian Johnson.
It's just that they haven't done it yet.
I mean, you don't even hear him interviewing people.
Yeah, it's weird. So it'll be Brian Johnson. All right. The defensive coordinator. You had said Jannard Wilson, probably the in-house leader in the clubhouse. Obviously, they've brought some dudes in. Vance Joseph, probably the biggest name. Jim Leonard. Some other guys, the Michigan guy. They brought some dudes in here.
Yeah.
What do you make of the defensive coordinator search, your feel on it so far, and ultimately where you think it ends?
Well, so I saw an interesting point on Twitter, and I forgot who said it, so I forget. But there is an advantage to interviewing a bunch of people, and it's interesting they're not doing it on offense, at least that we know of. But, like, you get to just pick everyone's brains, get ideas, all these things. So I don't think the fact they're interviewing people means that they're not going to hire Jannard Wilson.
I agree with that.
But they're meeting with Vance Joseph twice in 2 days, right? Like, so that's pretty important. So my opinion of it is, from a defensive coordinator perspective, like, what do they want? And I think this kind of goes back a little bit to like the freshness of it. I do like that they're going to have 2 new coordinators, just in the way that, like, I really
pointed this start.
Yeah, I really just think a breath of fresh air will be advantageous to this team next year. But so Vance Joseph. Like, first of all, Vance Joseph's defense sucked last year. They were 31st in the league in points allowed. They've been bad. I think he's been there 4 years. They were really bad 2 years. And then 2 of the years, I think they finished 10th and 11th in points allowed. Now, part of that is talent. Like, the Cardinals don't have a ton of talent. What I like about Vance Joseph is he's a former head coach. He has experience at coordinator. He kind of checks the, like, just hand the defense to him and Nick doesn't have to worry about it. At least you would hope. Like, Vance might suck, in which case then you have to worry about it. But I think that Nick, ideally, especially with Steichen gone, is going to have more responsibility and more, like, monitoring to do on the offense side of the ball, just because Brian Johnson will be new in the job. I like Brian Johnson. I think he's going to be good at it. But it's just something, it's a variable Nick has to deal with. So ideally, you want a defensive coordinator that is able to handle that. And I think with Vance Joseph, there's a high floor with him. Like, he Like the players love him. Like he just has a floor.
He walks in.
He won't be a train wreck, I guess.
And also he walks in with a cachet. Like he doesn't need to win the locker room over. He'll have won it over walking.
100%. Now, the thing that excites me about Jim Leonard, if Jim's his first name,
it is.
So Jim Leonard.
The
thing that excites me about him is it feels like he could be the next big thing. Like it feels like he could be the one that'll come in. And again, what I loved about Gannon was he just didn't allow big play. Like whatever, we don't have to get back into that.
Pew 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 pew.
Well, don't get me started on
pew,
that.
Pew, pew, pew.
Like the hypocrisy of Eagles fans. But
anyway,
it's
because we know him though. It's a difference. We knew nothing about Nick Sirianni. That's the difference. Is we are reacting
nationally
with our knowledge.
Well,
that's on them.
Right.
For us, we know Johnny Gannon. Nick Sirianni was the first time we saw him. We were like, what? Gannon, we know him and don't like him. I don't like this version. I've always thought he failed upward. I've always said I thought his personality of the three of like Nick, Sagan, and Gannon. To me, he felt the most like not inauthentic. He comes off as like it's all forced. It's all And again, I've always thought I think he speaks well and he's failed upwards. That's my Johnny Gannon.
Right. So the Leonard thing, what I would like about him is I think there's a chance he comes in and is like a superstar and like super creative and does all like, I'm just not a fan of retread coaches. Like I probably said it a billion times when they were looking for head coaches. I'm not a fan of
you said it. Yeah.
Right. Like I'm not a fan of it. So the Vance Joseph thing, what I like about it is the security of it. Like, but it's not exciting to me. It's like, oh, like, okay, Vance Joseph. Like, I don't, like, it doesn't change
because Eagles fans, I think that's the most exciting one for them.
Right, but for me, Leonard,
someone like Vance Joseph, they're like, okay, this guy is proven.
Right, he was 31st
this guy is a
in the
Super Bowl winning defensive coordinator, like all that stuff.
Right,
you know?
Where did he win the Super Bowl?
I assume with the Broncos, didn't he?
He was the coordinator there?
Wasn't he the coordinator with Kubiak?
I thought he was only the coordinator. Well, he was maybe you're might be right about this. He became a head coach. So I would guess,
in Denver, he was head coach too. But I think he was the coordinator there first. Let me look it up.
So anyway, but while you look it up, I'll continue. The Leonard thing would just be, to me, it would feel like an aggressive, exciting.
Oh, no, you're right. He was not there.
I feel like I would have seen that.
It's a bad job by me.
It's okay.
So he was not.
You've been up a while.
I have been.
Yeah. But
he's really not as accomplished as, he's been in the league for a while.
He's held jobs, but in terms of
I thought he had a way stronger resume.
No.
He's been a defensive coordinator 1 year, and then he got a head coach job, and then he's the year.
He was bad as a head coach.
Was a horrendous head coach.
And then,
all right,
the coordinator thing, like
now.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. The coordinator thing, he had 2 good years where they were 10th or 11th in points, but like
he's 11 and 21.
And then there's this thing where he blitzes all the time, and people are like, "Oh, well, they're going to bring in someone." Like he's not going to blitz if he comes here, in my opinion. And also, the Eagles were 16th in the league in blitzing or whatever, so it wasn't
he was with Kubiak in Houston. I get confused. I
can't imagine that well. But the keywords of Kubiak and Houston just lead me down a path of it probably was not good.
Yeah.
But
Gary Kubiak, Super Bowl winning head coach.
So of the two, I would probably pick Leonard just because I think there's a freshness. But the concern with Leonard is he could come in and be like a freaking disaster. Like he could come in and like not be able to adjust to the NFL. It'll be his first time on the job. Like at least Gannon had coached in the NFL before.
Well, Jim Leonard played in the NFL.
He played in the NFL, but if I'm right about this,
I don't know if I think he was a coach at some point with the Ravens, wasn't he?
Well, I think he played. Well, he was like an intern.
I'm talking like a position.
I don't think he's held a position of power.
I don't know. This one I have no idea. I was flat out wrong about Vance Joseph. I'm not going to.
I love the live figuring out what's going on.
It's great. Yeah. So you're right. He's never been a coach in the NFL.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
So
so there would be some concern there of like, could this guy be disaster? And then all of a sudden, like Nick has to deal with the defense more, all those things. So look, this is why I think losing Gannon hurt, because I think replacing him is going to be harder than people think. Like, okay. But yeah, well, you know what? Like defense gave up 21 points on the way to the playoff. Yeah. All right. So anyway, of the three, who would you rather have? In all seriousness, if you could pick Jim Leonard, Vance Joseph, or Jonathan Gannon, what would your order?
I actually like Jim Leonard. So every single one of my, I have four of my best friends went to Wisconsin. Wow. Shout out to Be a Justin. Remember Be a Justin Decker, my buddy who listened?
He
went to Wisconsin.
Friends that went to
Wisconsin. Yes, it's super weird.
And you knew them all before they went?
So I knew 3 of them. Justin is actually the one I met because my buddies went to Wisconsin and became friends with Justin.
Wisconsin. So he's from the school.
Yeah. So regardless, I've talked to those guys a lot and stuff, and they're Jim Leonard fans. They like Jim Leonard. I think Jim Leonard
Yeah, I would.
Is the most interesting hire of the bunch.
Yeah, I think Vance Joseph would come here and like if he did a good job,
I'd be fine.
Could be the defensive coordinator for like.
I'm a lot less impressed after looking at his actual resume than I was before.
Well, it's funny because you just held up a picture of Zoe, but
I did. It was underneath. I didn't realize my phone had
No,
locked at that point.
But I think like Jim Leonard could come here and be hired away in 2 years.
Yes. I got a Zoe quote.
I'm sure you do. So
it's been a while.
Yeah. So I think Jim Leonard could come here and in 2 years is like gone. Where I think Vance Joseph could come here and he like the advantage was I don't think he's ever probably getting hired away again because he's already been a head coach. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, so that would those are my defense coordinator takes. Ultimately, like I said, to me, I like the idea of exciting and new on defense. Vance Joseph doesn't feel that to me. And ultimately, like when I think about this team next year, it's super important that they're bringing back Jalen, AJ, Goddard, the offensive line, like, Sirianni. So I think Brian Johnson's going to be the guy. I feel good about the offensive side of the ball. The defensive side of the ball.
You should feel good about the Eagles then. You should
I do.
You should be worried about anything else.
I do.
You don't even care. You should stop.
I just said they should be the favorite in the NFC. I do feel good about them. I'm just saying because of that, I like the idea of freshness on defense because if your offense should stay the same and like is going to be the same, I think defense is a chance to really like have a new identity and like do new things and not just look, you're not going to get 70 sacks again next year. So it's going to have to be different. And I like the idea of bringing in new players and Leonard and like having that side of the ball, like recreate itself and letting the offense just, hopefully continue to be great.
Okay. Two last things before we get out of here and final thoughts, of course, but, two more things. And we're going to talk about a lot of this stuff in more detail. This is like a set the table for the offseason kind of pod. But the Hurts contract, we're going to get into it in more detail, what we expect now, but that could happen soon. Yeah. Just your take on when you think it'll happen, what type of deal we're looking at and all that.
So when he signs it, we'll do a pod about it, an emergency pod discussing it. But I'll like basically give you a preview of what that's going to sound like. All right. So it's like, hey, hello, it is Go Birds, blah, blah, blah. Elliot, they signed Jalen. Like, first of all, so happy for him. He earned it. Yeah, man, he's the best. So what do you think of the deal? Well, he certainly got paid. That's a lot of money. He's one of the top 3 in the league. Well, you had to pay. He had a great year. That's true. But how he did it in a great way. This is team friendly. They're committed to him for 3 years. A little worrisome because guys can get hurt. But ultimately, if you're going to bet on anybody, you're going to bet on him. Props to Howie for structuring in a way where it's team friendly. Like, that's it.
Okay, we're done. Do we not need to do the pod? Well, so I'm just going to, whenever it happens, clip that audio.
Right.
And we're going to put it out there and say Jalen Hurts Emergency Contract Podcast.
Right.
And it's just that.
Well, and I think it's simple because when we did the Carson Wentz pod where he was coming off injuries, right? There was
both of us are like, pay him. We're good. We're not going to be battling about it.
And he's going to get a lot of money.
And to the point we always say, like, I trust Howie in this situation. So,
here are some other like more deep, real thoughts on it. But I'm also being serious. I do think it'll be a lot of money that'll be structured in a team friendly way. My guess is reaction, remember, was going to be like, wow, Howie did it again. And Jalen got his money. But here would be like some things I would point to. For me, it doesn't really matter if you give him $55 a year or $45 a year. Like $10 million in salary cap space isn't nothing, but it's not a massive part of the salary cap. So ultimately, what is per year average to me? I get it matters when you talk about like where he ranks, but in terms of the contract, I'm not concerned about that. My concern, if I'm the Eagles, and just look, let's be real, they have to be heartless in these negotiations. You want, in my opinion, to be like locked into him. Like, whereas in like, you cannot move on from him, not even like 30 million dead cap hit. Like you can't move on. I wouldn't want to go more than 3 years just because I think 3 years in the NFL is a really long time. I would say this about literally any player. Mahomes would maybe be the only exception, but even him. This is nothing about Jalen. It's nothing about his playing style. It's nothing about his personality. I just like locking yourself into somebody for 3 years is a long time in the NFL. So I think for the Eagles and Jalen, it might be advantageous to do a shorter deal because Jalen's only 24. So from the Eagles' perspective, I am happy to give him a new deal in 3 years and pay him a ton of money then. If in 3 years he's healthy, he's still playing great. Like this is what I said with Carson. I was okay paying more for Carson a year from then because I wanted to see what type of player he was post-injury. I have no problem paying top dollar for something that I know is top quality. It's probably why Kristen gets mad at me on how I spend my money sometimes. But ultimately, like if I'm the Eagles, I'm fine paying Jalen like $55 million over the next 3 years and knowing in 3 years I have an out or I'm not locked into him because guys get hurt, guys tear their ACLs, God forbid he tears his Achilles and then he's not the same player. God forbid his throwing shoulder thing, like who knows, right? So it's not even about Jalen. It's just that after watching what happened with Carson and seeing how quickly injuries can deteriorate a career, and I know it's a bit of a unique example, I think it's advantageous for both sides to do a shorter deal. Jalen can hit the market again at 27. The Eagles are not locked into somebody for a super long term. So my opinion, like I'd be fine giving him 3 years, 180 million fully guaranteed, where like you're giving him, you know, an amazing amount per year. And I know 60 is extreme, but whatever. The point I'm making is I'm fine fully guaranteeing it for 3 years. I just don't like the idea of having it be year 5. It's still like a significant cap hit to move on from him.
Yeah, I get that. And after the Wentz thing, that makes a lot of sense. I'd be fine with that. I would bet on his future. So like I understand if they don't
But I don't even think it's a bet. But like if he's the same guy he is right now for the next 3 years, that's money well spent. He just has to be the same.
No. I'm saying betting, like doing a longer contract. I'm saying doing a different thing than what you're saying. I would be fine with that. I'd be fine with either. I get your point, but I'm saying if you can have more cap maneuverability because you go longer and betting on Hurts at the end, I'm fine with that because I believe in Jalen Hurts. As you said in your little, this is what it's going to sound like. There's no one else I would feel more confident just giving the money in their future, their work, the whole thing. But I understand your point. And with Carson, we saw that anything can happen and weird things happen, and you want to be able to get out of things.
One quick thing. Like I agree that Jalen is somebody you bet on, right? 100%. The point I'm making is like the Eagles almost have to look at this a little bit as like they're just looking at a football player and not Jalen, in the way that you have to take into consideration an ability to get out because of injury, not because of Jalen, not anything like that. You just have to protect yourself against being locked into somebody that could get hurt. That's the only thing I'm saying. So it's not an unwillingness to bet on Jalen.
You don't have to. I mean, the Chiefs didn't.
Well, the Chiefs deal, when you look at the Mahomes deal, like, look, I'm not saying it's the worst contract ever signed, but did you see he got like something like 60 million fully guaranteed?
It's crazy.
And it's like 130 for injury. If he was a free agent today, I kid you not, I think he could there would be teams that might be willing to pay him like, I don't know, $80 million a year. You know, like if Patrick Mahomes was a free agent, do you think there is a team that would give him 80 million?
Probably.
I think so too. So, and then you would figure the rest out.
So with Jalen, like, what are the chances? Because we talk about, but it's also his first contract guy, but it's a lot of money no matter what. What are the chances that he takes less than I know there's agents involved, but like or structures his way, because he did when he was asked about his contract at the end of the season, a locker day or whatever that was. They're like, what are your contract? He's like, I don't care, I just want to win. Like, and that was his mentality and stuff. Like, does he literally, in some sense, and it's his first contract? So I'm not saying he should, nor am I expecting it, but does he put his money where his mouth is?
I think he will, but I also think, I don't want to say it's insignificant because we're talking about millions of dollars.
It matters.
Especially
with it.
I guess I'll say this. Jalen, in my opinion, will enter the contract negotiations being willing to do this in a way where it helps the Eagles. Okay. That's the best way I can put it. Like, I don't know what it'll look like. Does it mean that he takes most of his money in a signing bonus so they can stretch it out as opposed to most of his money in guaranteed salary? Like, there's that part of it. Does he take $45 million a year as opposed to 52 because that's $7 million? Like, I don't know, but my guess is like he's going to get paid a ton of money. And frankly, like my advice to Jalen, if I were him, were to be like, you have been underpaid and undervalued your whole career. Right.
Take every dollar you can get.
But
generational family stuff.
But it's also true that, if he takes less, it's easier to sign Devontae.
Yeah. Look, Tom Brady did it. Like Tom Brady took less for years. He just did.
Now, my question about that is, did he take less early on or later on? Because later on, he already had a ton of money.
He was a 6th round pick. So like he didn't make anything early on.
Right.
That's how they built those early teams. But yes, from what I understand, and I think it was that when they won those first Super Bowls, it wasn't because of him as much. So he took less than maybe he could have gotten, but still, got a decent amount. But yeah, I mean, from what I understand, until the very end, like he always took less.
Yeah. Now he had, side income, whatever.
Like he had a lot of money. And
yeah.
Stuff. But again, like I always, again, I'll never tell anyone not to make what they can, especially in football, putting their bodies on the line, the whole thing for their families on. But like when we're talking about the difference between like $100 million and $120 million, like, I know it is $20 million, but like you got $100 million.
I agree with you. And I think they will enter. Now there's a lot of components to this. Like his agent is extremely well established, but also relatively new. Like his agent's not been around for 20 years.
She wants to
I think this is the first quarterback she's ever represented of this substance. So like the NFLPA is not going to want him to take a cheap deal.
Mhm.
She's going to want.
I agree.
Now, look, like she'll do what's best for him. And, you know, I do think
And
what's
what he
best for him
wants her
is
to
to help
do.
the team for sure. But also, like, let's be real. It helps her if she gets him like
Of
the
course it
highest
does.
paid quarterback
Of
contract in
course,
NFL
of
history,
course.
right? So I think that there's a lot of components here. Ultimately, though, I think here's why I think people should feel good about it. Howie and Jake Rosenberg, the cap guy, are really good at their jobs, and I think have the right intentions. Jalen, I believe, has the right intentions. From my experience in like of Nicole Lynn, his agent, I believe she has the right. So I think there are 3 people involved here. This isn't like Torello and Drew Rosenhaus and Joe Banner.
Right.
Like I think there are 3 people involved here that all have the same common goal of getting Jalen paid and making it a team-friendly way that helps the team. So that's why I think like we can talk about the deal and how we would structure it. I would be floored if when we do the Jalen contract post pod, we're sitting here being like, I don't know, man. Like that,
Yeah,
I would be floored.
I would too. All right, last thing. You're going to the combine next week.
I know.
Wow.
I know.
I mean, geez, buddy.
Well, like I got to learn about the players.
Yeah, dude. Well, that's the thing. Normally, we've had like a month to like look, like draft. We got the 10 pick. Let's get. I know no one. Like Jalen Carter. That's a guy.
I know
Bryce
him,
Young,
and I know
CJ Stroud, and that's it.
And
like,
I know.
Oh, and Hendon Hooker. I
Well,
know
there's
some
a
of the
corner from
quarterbacks.
Oregon that people seem to really
Don't know.
Corner to be clear.
Nope.
Corner.
Nope.
I
know no one else. No one. It's actually. Oh, and the running back. Just because I saw the McShay knock him to the Eagles.
Here would be my initial.
Beyond.
Right.
His name is.
Yeah. They're not going to take it.
No.
But at 31,
I was going to say 10 now. 31, yeah.
Or
sure.
30 or whatever it is.
30.
So
Should've
here would be
been
my
31.
first
We got
initial
screwed out of the
draft
Super Bowl.
take.
You might have forgotten.
I know. Well, and also like the Dolphins pick, whatever.
Yeah.
But my initial draft take would be I am more into taking someone at 10 than I am trading it.
I agree with that.
Like, look, obviously if you can move 4 spots back and you feel you get the same guy, like, yeah, clearly. But I think like getting a dude at 10, we saw it. Devontae was an absolute difference maker for this team.
No doubt.
You know, Jordan Davis, not as much.
Yeah.
Like, you know, the further you go back, like, so my initial take is I would be more into getting a guy 10 or even like moving up and getting another guy than I am of like collecting.
I'm 100% with you. I agree completely.
But for what's worth, I didn't like the Saints trade initially for that exact reasoning, and that worked out. So ultimately.
All right. We'll be back tomorrow. Parks Picks Pod. We're going to start to look ahead for the odds for next season. Where are the Eagles in terms of Super Bowl odds? MVP odds for Hurts. I already bet on it.
You already bet on it.
Full disclosure. We'll get into all that tomorrow and preview the weekend. I guess that's all we got. Final thoughts?
I'm trying to think. Like of what
do you want
I've
me to do?
doing.
I have 2. So I have a Zoe one and I'll do the other one first. I'll do Zoe in the end. You want me to do a real one?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So I watched over the weekend. Emily had never seen it. So actually to buy it on DVD, you can't find this movie anywhere. The Distinguished Gentleman. Have you ever heard of this movie?
I've heard of it, but
Eddie Murphy, 1992 classic. Like it's hilarious.
Yeah.
Also prescient. Like this movie was way ahead of its time. It's talking about like super PACs and all this political stuff.
Right.
Like it's about a guy who like fakes his way into Congress, essentially, Eddie Murphy. Phenomenal. Like couldn't recommend it highly enough. Hard to find. I had to buy it on Amazon. Emily had never seen it. I was like, I've never seen Distinguished Gentleman. I bought it on DVD. A DVD.
That morning show money.
Yeah, that's right. It was $6.99.
There you go.
Quite a bit. But I will say the movie is prescient. Big recommendation. But it made me think about Eddie, and I have a take.
Go for it.
I already made my he's the funniest person ever take in the mid 80s, early 90s guy. But also, I think that Eddie Murphy has the most distinctive smile in movie history.
In
Bold
movie history?
take right there. Especially when it's paired with the laugh. When he does the smile and does the little laugh that he does. The most distinctive one. It's an Eddie smile. There's nothing like it.
When you first said it, before you added the movie part, my initial thought was like Brandon Graham.
Sure, yeah, I said movie.
Yeah, when the movie, right. I'm trying to think who else has a distinctive smile
it's a
in movies.
Damn good take right here. I feel really good about this one.
But I also wonder if people would if I said, what do you think about when you think of Eddie Murphy? I do wonder if his smile, like how long till that would be said. But maybe this is me not knowing a ton about.
I just think I agree with you. You don't really think about distinctive smiles.
Right.
Right. In general.
I'm good with that.
I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
I'm bringing it to the takes.
All right. So here would be my final thought. So first, since we're in a real one auto downloader territory,
yes,
I created the Go Birds community Twitter group. We're already, I think, over 100 people.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I haven't checked since we started, but we were like close to 90 before.
That is very cool.
So
shout out to everybody.
Yeah. So here's my vision of what I think the group will be. And for those who don't know, you go to Twitter, you go to the communities page. I'm not really sure how you get there, but I think it's pretty clear. It's like on the side. And just search Go Birds Pod. But also, I have it. I'm going to pin it to the top of the Go Birds Twitter page.
Oh.
So go to the Go Birds Twitter page. I'll pin it to the top, and it'll be there. You request. So I did request just so I can only let like Real One auto downloaders in. And this way I can control if someone's like, in there being a not real one.
Yes.
But so anyway, my vision for it is I think it's a fun place where like people can go and like you put your Eagles thing in, and I think you can get a lot more interaction than if you're just like tweeting it out into like whatever, right? So I think it can be a good like message board. I'll be hopping in there. James, I'm sure will hop in there occasionally, not as much on Twitter, but a good chance just to talk Eagles. But here's what I'm gonna put in there, I think. There is this video on Instagram that has been in my head for like 2 weeks to the point where I think Kristen got like almost legitimately mad at me today because I keep singing the song in it to the
good.
And it's this guy that's overweight and he shakes his belly and it is like I'm gonna show you this. Maybe I'll show you it right now.
Yeah, show it to me.
Okay,
I've not.
We'll get a live viewing of it.
I'm excited about this.
But like. You know how like you don't have Instagram, so you won't know. But on Instagram, like if you watch a certain video, they'll then feed you videos that are similar.
Sure.
It's got like so for like
algorithm.
months, years, all my feed has been like soccer jerseys and football highlights. Now I can't even open the app without seeing this guy. All right, is he still shaking his belly?
Yeah, he's shaking it.
Right?
Yeah.
I like 800 different variations of it. Like him shaking it in front of a taco spot, him shaking it in front of like out in like wherever. And so today I'm like getting ready to go, and Kristen came down to like give me a hug goodbye. And when I was hugging her, I started doing the song, and she's like, stop. And she like walked upstairs.
So how excited would you be if you're walking down the street and that dude walks by you?
I haven't taken a selfie with somebody in a really long time.
You would do it.
I think for him, I would do it.
I love that.
Yeah, I think he would be the one.
I love it. All right. We're going to be back tomorrow. All right. Last thing, I'll just leave you with a Zoe quote.
Yes.
It's kind of become a thing. I thought this one pretty funny. So I was going to watch an episode of Poker Face. And Zoe,
I'm a little out on that show.
So I like it.
It's just too repetitive for me. Every episode's the same. I don't want to spoil.
Don't spoil it. Yeah, but it's like Columbo or any of those type of shows. You just don't like that they tell you who it is at the beginning.
Which is like every show, it's like, oh, someone died. Oh, she figured it out because she can tell people are lying.
But that's the gimmick. It's the whole show.
And it was fun for like 4 episodes. 7 in, I'm like, we get it. She's gonna figure it out because she can tell who's lying.
But that's like it's like any of these shows. Like, you know that, right? Like Columbo or
and I'm fine with it, but I don't think it's as good as I used to.
Okay.
I thought the first episode was like unbelievable.
Yeah.
The second, like, I'm not as in.
Okay.
You also don't even hear from the guy that's chasing her.
By the way, I'm 3 in The Last of Us, and it's fine.
Oh, really?
Everyone's going nuts about it.
I'm surprised you didn't love the 3rd episode.
It's good. You know?
I thought it's
got Ron Swanson in it.
Yeah,
like
that's what I mean.
But I mean, it's like
I think it's very good.
It's solid.
I think it's way better than Poker Face.
It's good. They're completely different things. Like I think it's probably better than Poker Face, but it's not like.
So I'm all caught up, and the last one was like.
A little overrated so far. I think it's fine.
I think you went in with too high of expectations.
I'm not going in. I'm not like super
excited.
excited to watch it. Like it's more of like all right, I guess I'll watch The Last of Us. So that's where I'm at. But anyway, so I told her I was going to watch an episode of Poker Face, and she goes, does he poke a lot? That's what the show's about. And I said,
well, it's very repetitive.
I said, yeah, but it's a she. She pokes a lot, and she goes, cool. I love girls who poke a lot.
All right. There you go. I'd be curious to know what girls in her life she knows.
She knows that
are constantly poking.
Does he poke a lot?
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of. It's a girl. I
feel like
girls.
She'd watch it and be like, we get it. She can tell they're lying. Oh my God. She solved it again. Also, like what I don't get is why do places keep hiring her? She's on the run.
It's like crap jobs. Those are.
Yeah, but you still need like a W-2.
No,
it's not
that's the point. She's in small towns doing like backstage. She's like a backstage person.
She just quits after 3 days every time.
Those are under the table jobs. Those are jobs that like people who don't have papers or this that or whatever would do. The job that is an unfair complaint. You're complaining about the show. And,
I just think it's so funny. If we're going to towns and like doing the interview process, getting hired.
It's not like you're thinking about real interview process. This is like you can like clean up the back alley.
It's like she just shows up and goes, "Hey, I'm here to work." Like
this is small town America, small towns. And
I just think it's a very flawed show.
Yeah,
I think it's very flawed.
I disagree.
Which is ironic because the other show what's that actress's name?
Natasha Lyonne.
The last show I watched of her was where
Russian Doll.
she dies every 24 hours, and it's literally repetitive. So
It was amazing.
It was better. I thought.
Way better. First season Russian Doll was
but it's funny now
phenomenal.
she's in a show that's like the same thing again and again and again and again and again. It's like,
Yeah.
oh my God, they're lying. How'd you know?
Then don't watch it anymore.
I don't want to.
Well, then don't.
I'm going to.
You're in control of your own destiny.
I finally gave up on The Servant.
Did you after 3 seasons?
Yeah.
You
Me and
wait till-
Kristen just
I give
couldn't
up
do
on
it
stuff
anymore.
after like 2 episodes.
Yeah, no.
Like
we did a
Last
whole,
of Us is getting one more episode from me. We'll see.
Wow.
what
All
happens.
right. That's unfair.
People keep saying it's so great. And I keep going like, when's it gonna get great? It's fine.
It's very good.
It's okay. It's not very good.
I think it's very, very good.
Okay.
I give it a 8 out of 10.
Yeah, it's like a 6 out of 10.
All right. I know if you wrap up, let me ask you real quick.
Yeah.
If you were grading something from 1 to 10, like all right, so you saw a movie and I was like, I gave it a 7 out of 10. What would you think of that score?
I think it was fine.
Now, what if I gave it a 5?
I would think it's bad.
So, okay, thank you.
Which is funny, but you're right. Because it's because of grading.
Yes,
give it like
yes,
A's,
thank you,
B's,
thank you,
C's,
thank you,
D's.
thank you. I don't think we've agreed this much on a final thought. Like I have been and debating this with my friends for forever because they're like, no, a 5 out of 10 is the middle. I'm like, I know, but a 5 is an F and a 7 is an A. Yes. All right, thank you.
Yeah,
that's it.
That's good.
Feel free for people to chime in.
Okay.
It's also kind of like I miss where
they're close to us. Yeah, we gotta figure this out. Maybe we'll do somewhere without the mics and just do them on our own mics and stuff.
Yeah,
we'll figure it out. We love everybody. Thank you for showing up.
I do miss the Super Bowl run.
Yeah,
I will say.
I
just do.
See, it's a bummer, isn't it, Elliot?
But it's not about them losing.
It's not all happy and sunshine and roses.
But it's not about them losing. It's about just like
bummer
that it's over.
Bummer.
Yeah.
All right. We'll be back tomorrow. Parks Picks Pod, and that's it. That's all I got.
There it is.
He's on MJ. 1 hour.
Oh yeah.
Thank you.
Good group in there.
Oh wow, look at this.
Adam, Drew, Sean. I feel like we never go away when we like do this.
I know. You're an old man.
Few people. All right. Thank you to everybody who listened.
Love you guys.